Have you ever noticed that some thoughts keep coming back? The conversation from yesterday, the mistake from years ago, the message you haven't received, the future that hasn't happened. You tell yourself you're trying to find an answer, trying to prepare, trying to understand, but hours pass, nothing changes, and somehow you're still thinking about the same thing. What if overthinking isn't a search for answers? What if it's something much harder to admit? What if your mind has become addicted to it? Most people think overthinking happens because they care too much, but that's only part of the story. The deeper reason is that overthinking creates an illusion of control. When life feels uncertain, thinking feels like doing something. You can't control the outcome, but you can keep analyzing it. You can replay every possibility, imagine every scenario, prepare for every disaster. And for a moment, uncertainty feels smaller. The problem is that your brain begins to associate thinking with safety. Every time anxiety appears, the mind responds with more analysis, more questions, more mental simulations, more attempts to solve problems that may never exist. Over time, this becomes a habit, not because it works, but because it feels like it should work. The strange thing about overthinking is that it often disguises itself as responsibility. You tell yourself, I'm just being careful. I'm planning ahead. I'm trying to understand. But there comes a point where thinking stops serving you and starts consuming you, because many of the things we overthink cannot be solved through thought alone. No amount of analysis can guarantee that someone will stay. No amount of worrying can control the future. No amount of replaying the past can change what already happened. Yet the mind keeps trying, because uncertainty is uncomfortable, and overthinking offers temporary relief, like scratching an itch. For a moment, it feels better, but the itch returns. So you scratch again and again until the habit becomes automatic. But while the mind is busy looping, life keeps moving. You are physically present, but mentally, you are somewhere else entirely. At the dinner table, but still in yesterday's argument, with the people you love, but replaying a conversation from last week. In the middle of a good moment, but already worrying about when it ends. This is what overthinking quietly steals from you. Not in one dramatic moment, but slowly, invisibly, one distracted hour at a time. Your energy goes to thoughts that lead nowhere. Your attention goes to problems that haven't happened. And the present moment, the only place where life actually exists, passes by unnoticed. Over time, you may start to feel tired without knowing why. Disconnected without knowing why. Like something is missing even when nothing is wrong. That emptiness is not a mystery. It is the space left behind by a mind that was never fully here. Most people try to stop overthinking the same way. They tell themselves to just stop, to think about something else, to let it go. And for a moment, it works. But then the thought returns. And they try again. And it returns again. This is not a failure of willpower. This is how the brain works. When you try to suppress a thought, your brain has to first locate that thought in order to suppress it. Which means the act of trying not to think about something makes you think about it more. Psychologists call this the rebound effect. The harder you push a thought away, the harder it pushes back. So the answer is not to fight the thoughts. It is to change your relationship with them. Not every thought that enters your mind is asking to be solved. Some thoughts are just passing through. The moment you stop treating every thought as a problem that needs a solution, they begin to lose their grip. There is a specific moment that many people describe when overthinking begins to lose its hold. It is not a dramatic breakthrough. It is not a sudden realization that fixes everything. It is quieter than that. It is the moment you catch yourself mid-loop, and instead of trying to stop it or solve it, you simply notice it. You think, there it is again, and you don't follow it. That small act of observation, without judgment, without urgency, is the beginning of something different, because the loop needs your participation to continue. The moment you become the observer instead of the participant, the loop begins to slow, not immediately, not completely, but enough to feel the difference. And that difference, that small quiet space between the thought and your reaction to it, is where everything changes. The hidden addiction of overthinking is not the thoughts themselves. It's the feeling that one more thought will finally bring certainty. One more analysis, one more replay, one more scenario. But certainty rarely arrives. The loop simply continues. And eventually, the thing you're trying to solve becomes less exhausting than the thinking itself. The moment overthinking begins to lose its power is the moment you realize something important. Not every uncertainty needs an answer. Not every thought deserves your attention. And sometimes, peace begins where the search for certainty ends. Most people will finish this video and keep scrolling, but if something in here stayed with you, even for a moment, that's not an accident. That's you, starting to understand yourself a little better. Subscribe to Echo Behavior. Every week, one more piece of the puzzle, and drop a comment below. Tell me which part hit closest to home. I read every single one.